So good morning friends, once again with continuing my lecture from where I ended in the lecture number 3. So this is lecture number 4. So I was on showing you the different uh, uh, parts of the diameter message. So first we are talking about the header. So one header is the version, length and flag, which I already explained previously, and now we'll know about what is command code. So in the previous lecture also I showed you how command code works, and why we take a single digit as a command code identifier. Okay, so we can easily filter out those messages in the TCP dump with this command code. And then the next is the application ID. So here in my example you can see the application ID. 1 minute. So in my example, I have shown you that in application ID, it is diameter credit control application. So as I told in the last lecture, application ID is the thing which has been created, which has been built on top of the diameter based protocol. So this feature, this application is diameter credit control application. So in general term, I will tell you this is for charging. So charging of prepaid subscribers, we generally use it in telecom. Okay, so this particular application has been built on top of diameter based protocols. Okay, it has its own set of messages, and on which this credit control message is one of that part. Okay, and that's the reason we call it as a diameter credit control application. Is simply just a name given to that application. Okay, so that people can understand, okay, this particular message CCR is for charging. Okay, it's for credit control. Okay, now coming towards the next one. Okay, just similar to the charging, we have other applications, like for policy we have GX, RX. So GX is a policy based application. We use it in 4G and 3G policy control mechanism, and for IMS we use RX. Okay, so these RX, GX and RX are same thing. The only difference is that GX is used in 3G and 4G for data charging. Okay, and RX is used in IMS. So not for data charging, is for the policy in 3G and 4G network, and RX is for the policy related information in IMS network. Okay, so similarly we have for subscriber related information, means if I want to get some information of a subscriber in a telecom network, like what is what's the profile it is having, like it is a prepaid, it is a postpaid, it's a hybrid subscribers. Okay, it has some services on, off, some special conditions. So all those information are actually stored in some register, which is generally named as HSS. Okay, so in telecom we have developed some applications like SH, which is used to communicate the client towards that particular node which is having the subscriber information. Okay, so all these applications you will see in different TCP dumps when you will come across in your daily work. So okay, so let's come to the hop by hop identifier and end-to-end identifier. So hop by hop identifier, these both are very important term, and as you can see in the description, I have mentioned that the sender must ensure that the hop by hop identifier in a request is unique. So it should be unique, and hop is basically means, suppose I'm a person A. Okay, I will explain in a notepad. Okay, so I'm a person A. So okay, and I want to send this message to person D. Okay, and suppose I'm not sending it directly, I'm sending it through hop. So from A I'm sending it to B, B is sending it to C, and C is sending it to D. So basically here this is one hop. Okay, this is another hop. Similarly, if I copy paste this message to explain you the end-to-end identifier, this is one end and this is another end. Okay, so with this you will be able to clear your concept, like what is hop and what is end. Okay, so and suppose I'm sending this message from A to D in this fashion, that from A there is a hop B, then from B there is a hop C, and then there is a end D. Now if D is replying to that message, so let's copy it. Okay, here the direction will be like this. Okay, and similarly like this. So if D is replying to A, then D should ensure that the hop will be same. Okay, means D will send it to hop C, and C will make sure that the another hop is B in the reverse direction, and B will make sure that the end is A. So this way, if the message got flows, then both the system will accept it. Otherwise, the receiver has to discard the message, because the sender who has sent the message to D in a particular sequence, then D should ensure that in the same reverse sequence the message should reach to A, and if not, then A has to discard this message and D has to resend this message. Okay, so this is the hop to hop concept, and end to end is different. End to end here I'm talking about this end and this end, so I showed here. Okay, so you can just read out the description that even after the reboots, the sequence should be same. Okay, and the sender and sender of an answer must ensure that hop to hop identifier fields contain the same value that was found in the corresponding request. Okay, so if the value of hop by hop identifier in this particular request message is this 0x3A30332BF, then in the answer also the hop by hop identifier should be same. Similarly, it's for end-to-end identifier also. But the main difference between end-to-end identifier is that the end-to-end identifier is used for detecting the duplicate messages. Okay, and the originator of an answer message must ensure that the end-to-end identifier field contains the same value that was found in the corresponding request. So this is the same as hop to hop identifier. So this is the very minor difference. Okay, and if you want to recheck this thing, then whenever you get the TCP dump, you just click on this answer message and you will get the same hop to hop and end-to-end identifier. Okay, this will ensure that your message is correct. Okay, so basically the system who is having the diameter protocol stacks installed in it, this is the behavior of the system, that it will go hop by hop like this, end-to-end identifier like this, application ID as this, command code is this. So all this